The latest film in the MCU that's not really in the MCU, Fantastic Four First Steps came out. Here are my thoughts on it. Hi, my name is Nathan, and I talk about a lot of movies on this channel. If you're new here, down below in the comment section, share what you thought of Fantastic Four First Steps over on my channel. I have more content like this. Check those out once this video is over. And if you enjoy this video, I have a lot more reviews like this over on the rest of the channel. I've done a bunch of Marvel reviews in particular, so be sure to check those out once this video is over. And with all that said, let's just get straight into it with the good. To cut straight to the chase with this film, it is one of the best movies in the entire MCU since Endgame, and simply one of the best movies in the MCU just in general. And easily, I would say, of the Fantastic Four movies that have been released over the years, this one is easily the best one of the bunch. And I know I could sound a little bit exaggerant, but I don't think I am, because this year we have been experiencing a year where every time a new superhero movie comes out, every time a new movie comes out, in particular in the comic book movie genre, everybody online starts glazing it like it's the best thing that they've ever seen. So we just saw this with Thunderbolts, the new Avengers, where online people were glazing it online, calling it one of the best MCU movies, and I wasn't quite there with it. I saw the movie, I thought it was good. I thought it was a very good Marvel movie, but it wasn't one of the best MCU movies to me. It's not one of my favorites in the franchise. And then we saw that recently with the Superman movie, where as soon as it came out, everybody was very, very praising it, like when it was one of the best superhero movies of all time. And still to this day, it only came out a couple weeks ago, people are still praising it as one of the best superhero movies we've gotten in the past 5 years, or really of all time. It's getting that much praise. Saw the Superman movie, and I thought it was very good, just like the Thunderbolts movie, but I didn't think it was anything fantastic like that. It would be one of my favorite DC movies or anything like that. And here we have Fantastic Four, where I went in pretty excited to see it. I was getting more excited up to the date of this movie's release. And as soon as it came out, of course, everybody was glazing it, saying it was fantastic, saying it was amazing. And so I decided to go in this time with more modest expectations, because with like Superman, I was very excited for it even before the reviews came out. And I don't know if that helped me evaluate this film or not, but I don't think it did. I genuinely think this is probably one of the best movies in the MCU. It's just finally a superhero movie this year that lives up to the hype that is everybody's been talking about. So is it as good as people are saying it is? Yes, it is. And right off the bat, this movie just has a very different style and vibe than other MCU movies. Even just from the opening logo of the film, it's different, leading into our film itself, which is set in a different universe, and that just gives it this different vibe and different style to it. Whereas a bunch of the MCU movies, especially considering the past 10 years that the MCU has been around, we haven't really gotten an MCU movie with this much set in this far of a time period and with a different aesthetic to it since maybe Captain America the First Avenger back in 2011, because that movie was set during World War II. And with this movie, it's this retro-futuristic style, as everybody's calling it, and it really is. It's set in the 60s, but a futuristic version of the 60s, and that gives it this whole different energy to it than what you typically expect from normal MCU tone. And that's just what stood out immediately about it, and because it's in such a different time period, it is very nice to look at. Just visually, the version of New York that they went with looks different, it feels different, and it's so vibrant, it's so lively, it's so colorful, like the 60s were back then, combined with the futuristic stuff in the 60s, and it's visually appealing to look at as you want to explore this new version of New York. And with the Fantastic Four movie, of course you have to talk about our team itself, the Fantastic Four, where I just thought that all of them were casted to perfection. I went in a little bit skeptical, especially with Pedro Pascal, because there's a common criticism going around that Pedro Pascal is in everything that comes out. He's in 3 movies that are in theaters right now. This movie, Eddington, and Materialist. But here, I actually thought Pedro Pascal worked very well in the role of Reed Richards, and everybody just kind of did great in it. Even our antagonists, which we will get to a little bit later, they just did great in it. But with our family here, they truly do feel like a team. A family that cares about each other and are going through struggles like any normal family would, bringing it surprisingly closer to home. Although it's a movie about rock people and stretchy powered people and people that go on fire and invisible people, like, with all of that, it can be surprisingly close to home because it does feel like an actual family working through personal problems. A common one in this movie, the obvious one here, is that Invisible Woman Sue Storm is pregnant in this movie, and that's something that all families kind of experience at some point, or most families. And so it has a family that feels kind of grounded in reality, although having the fantastical side to them at the same exact time. And of course, with a Marvel movie, you also have to talk about our villains here. In this case, we have Galactus, of course, who is barely in the trailers, but he is in this movie. And I just thought they did a fantastic job at translating Galactus straight from the comics into this movie. It is the perfect translation of Galactus. He's like a Godzilla-esque monster in the final battle of it. And he just brings this energy to him where he takes up the screen quite literally. And also, like, he's just this ginormous threat that you feel needs to be stopped, that is evil, and is also like a planet-destroying monster, really. And the way they translated him here is much better than the way they translated him in Rise of the Silver Surfer back in 2007. The way they did it here just was absolutely amazing. But I think the real standout villain here is Silver Surfer. This is a different version of Silver Surfer. Her name is Shala Bal, and I thought she was actually one of the better characters in the film because of what they do with her character. I'm trying not to get into spoilers, so because I really did think this movie was really good, so I'm trying to, like, if you haven't seen this movie, go see it. I don't want to ruin it for you, but what they do with her character and what it reveals about her and the way they play out her story in this movie is actually a very compelling version of the character, and it pays off at the end, leading to a very satisfying moment with the Silver Surfer character. And I just thought it was done so well. And I thought Johnny Storm, also of our main team itself, I think Johnny Storm was my favorite. I'll try to do another video talking about the specific characters of this movie because I don't want to make this video too long, simply. But also, what I appreciate about this movie is that it didn't require any homework to do. Something that the MCU has always struggled with in the past sort of 5 years of its run is that it required you to watch several movies and shows for a specific movie. Worst example of this being The Marvels, where you had to watch Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, WandaVision, kind of, to understand The Marvels. That is the absolute worst example of how Disney just expected everybody to watch all the stuff they put out, and then they put out The Marvels. But here, since it's in a different universe, you can just watch it and enjoy it, even if you haven't seen a single Marvel movie, and it doesn't require any homework. And even as a Fantastic Four movie, it is different from the rest of the Fantastic Four movies that we've gotten, as it skips the origin story, and they're kind of already in a family and doing things. But what makes this different from the Superman movie, which I mentioned in my Superman review that a criticism I had was that it felt like it was one step ahead of me. Like it was the sequel to the movie that I wanted, because it didn't have a Superman origin or anything like that. But also it just plopped you straight in the middle of plot lines that I had to like play catch up on. And this movie doesn't do that. While it does skip the origin story, it does have the recap at the beginning of what happened to these characters. It tells a story with a beginning, middle, and end. It always felt like I was with the characters in the movie as I was watching it, instead of having to play catch up with the Superman movie. And I'm not throwing shade at the Superman movie. I liked that movie. But I would say with this one, I enjoyed it a lot more because I didn't have to like follow along. I didn't have to play catch up. And that was just kind of a little bit, that's what I wanted the Superman movie to do, where it didn't drop you in the middle of an action sequence and continue on with plot points that were present in a Superman movie that didn't exist, that I never watched. But here, it is a movie with a beginning, middle, and end, and character arcs, and I just thought, like, it was more refreshing than the Superman movie. Not throwing shade to it once again, but I just really, really liked this movie. And what this movie did the most for me was that it made me excited for Marvel again. As I was watching this movie, it reminded me of when I was like an elementary schooler, just excited to see Marvel movies. And that's what this movie kind of was. It reminded me how much I loved Marvel back when I was an elementary school kid. And when I got out of the theater, I left with a big grin on my face, very excited for Marvel again, and an emotion that I haven't felt in quite a while. I know with Guardians 3, I love Guardians 3. Guardians 3 is right up there with this movie in my MCU list, but Guardians 3 was the conclusion to the Guardians trilogy. It wasn't like a big piece of the narrative going forward into Avengers Doomsday or anything. Or not that I think it's going to be either. It was a nice conclusion to a story that I had seen in the previous phases of the MCU. But with this movie, it is a big integral part of the MCU, and it made me excited to see more things from Marvel. And as somebody that is kind of a little bit cynical about Marvel, this childhood franchise of mine that is being ruined by Phases 4 and 5, this movie is definitely one of the best movies that they have released since Endgame, and maybe even ever. You care about the characters, it has actual tension, and they're compelling villains, visually appealing. There's not even a lot of negatives I could think. Like, I watched this movie and said, I really liked that. So I'm not even gonna go over the bad. I'll give this one an A. But down below in the comment section, share what you thought of the movie. Those are just my thoughts. I just absolutely loved this movie. If you are a Fantastic Four fan, go see this movie. Over on my channel, there's more content like this. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end. I'll see you in the next one.